My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a queer business boy wonder. We talked about their modeling career. We discussed linguistics and the importance of culture and education. We even talked a little bit about the holistic versus the autistic brain. This was a really great episode. And also, this was the very first time that I've had a guest on Dem Bois Podcast that I recorded in person. So not only were we in person, we were able to make a connection with each other and vibe with each other face to face. So this was a beautiful episode. I know that you're going to enjoy.
Dem Bois, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting color voices. Yeah, we here making noise, making noise, Visibility equals possibility. You know we them boys, Dem Bois, amplifying, transmitting color voices.
Hey, this is Joel Simu, production assistant for Dem Bois Podcast. Looking to connect with others in the community? You'll love our brand new space, Dem Bois Community Voices, on Facebook. We created this private, moderated group specifically for trans men of color to share experiences, discuss episodes, and support each other on this journey. Ready to join us? Just click the link in our show notes to become part of this growing community.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a trans-nonbinary multilinguist, retired runway model, and queer business boy wonder. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. For folks that are listening, this is the first time ever in Dem Bois Podcast history that I'm actually recording this in person. So me and my guests, we're actually sitting across from each other at the table. I can touch them, they can touch me. This is so exciting. I'm so happy to have you here and build this space with you in person.
Yeah, this is a really exciting opportunity. I was really surprised that anyone wanted to have me on a podcast again. Last time I did a podcast, it was, oh my God, I was so nervous. I was so nervous.
Are you nervous now?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm not gonna lie, it's just like little jitters and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll work this.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll work out the kinks. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks that's listening, your name and pronouns?
Oh, yes. So my name is Wenjamin Nguyen. Most people just call me by Wen. I go by they, he pronouns. I'm trans-masculine, non-binary. I've come out since I was like, I want to say like 17, 18. And I've just been like on a social transition ever since then. It's been on and off, but you know,
okay.
We're hitting new stages.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
We are near each other. We live near each other. So for folks that are listening, if you ever want to be a guest on Dem Bois Podcast and you want to do an in-person recording, I welcome you to do so. So where are you located though?
I am located in a quiet little town of Sonoma County. It's called Roanoke Park. It's the tiniest little place. I live in an even smaller town inside that called Cotati. It is like it's just really small town vibes. It's a lot of great art around. There's agriculture. Sonoma County just has a lot to offer in terms of like wine agriculture. A lot of people just working in that industry as a whole.
Small town, but you also have a large casino. Crazy.
Oh yeah, Grattan Casino. Gotta pay our respect to Grattan Casino. Probably our biggest like what's it called? They bring in the most money out of the entire like regional Roanoke Park area. They make literally millions and millions and millions, and they're able to like support our local economy that way.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's actually, I've been there one time. It's actually a nice casino, nice food. I don't know if folks listening are into casinos. I am. I like casinos a little bit. I don't like to lose my money. I don't like to spend my money just a little bit. It's huge.
Oh yeah, it is a massive casino, and they've actually done construction since then, so it's even like more massive now. I went to visit it actually the other day, and I couldn't recognize it because it looks nothing like the one that I used to work at. Like it's the same casino, but they've done so much construction to it that it's become unrecognizable to me.
And they're adding like new rooms and all of that stuff too. So.
Oh yeah, they're like multiplying their hotels by like threefold, and then they're doubling their casino department, and like but their little dingy offices are still in the back, still untouched and the same.
So I love to ask folks this question. So the name Wenjamin, how did that name choose?
I didn't choose the name actually. It came to me one day. It came to me through a friend. It was originally a joke. I used to be. It feels so corny to say, but like I used to be quite popular on Tumblr.com, and my friend, we're still friends to this day. My friend Ray, they called me just as a joke because at the time I identified as Wen only, and as a joke they were just like, why don't you just go like Wenjamin or something? And it was just like I didn't think about that because it was so like it's so funny because like my little brother, his name is Ben, and it's not like Benjamin or anything, it's just Ben. And it was funny because like I wanted to do like a Ben and Wen situation, but I think it would be infinitely funnier if I was a Wenjamin and Ben situation.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, my friend gave me the name Wenjamin and kind of just stuck around. I started using it as like a joke, and then eventually kind of stuck with me. And I was just like, I can't let go now. I can't let go.
I've heard people say like to get used to their name. They kind of, when it comes to them, they like go order coffee. Use that new name. Did you try that?
I went for it's interesting because like because my name was changed to Wenjamin, and when I lived in Oregon, I changed my name there. My friends still called me Wen, and so like I was so used to being called Wen, especially like amongst like my friend groups, even like coffee shops and stuff. I would instinctually just go for Wen because it's like the most, I suppose, gender neutral of all my names. Like my dead name is the most feminine, and like my official government name is Wenjamin, which is more masculine. And so like I think Wen is like a perfect middle ground to, I don't know, accommodate all the feelings that I feel.
And I feel like too, people, especially at the coffee places, they don't really be trying to give it too much effort. Benjamin has too many syllables. I feel like they ain't gonna get that right.
No. They're probably just gonna be like, oh, W or like something like that.
Right. Exactly.
But you know what? I have dated my fair share of like baristas and stuff, but I feel like baristas just tend to be queer anyway. If they're not, I'm not interested.
That is very interesting. Queer barista.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not, they don't have blue hair or piercings, I'm not going to order coffee there. Come on, it's not good.
That's hilarious. And now every time I go to a coffee place, I'm gonna be looking for blue hair and earrings.
Oh yeah, if you look for the non-binary person, I promise you, they make the best coffee in the entire building.
That's definitely hilarious. So I love to ask folks about their gender journey, and so this podcast is about highlighting different identities in our gender journeys. And so I wanted to ask you, from a point that you can remember in your life, what shaped your gender journey into who you are now?
Oh man, in order to go through with that, I would have to reveal so much cringy like material about myself. But I'm ready to go through it.
Let's do it. If you're ready, I'm ready.
When I was like 12, 13, do you know Vocaloid?
No. Please explain.
So Vocaloid is it's like a fandom where it's like a bunch of like voice synthesizers. You know Hatsune Miku?
Oh.
Hatsune Miku is one of the voice synthesizers in the group Vocaloid. And when I was like 12, 13, I had a huge crush on her. And I did not know that other girls did not have crushes on girls. And that was the first like egg cracking moment. I knew earlier on, like, there was something afoot with me. I remember my grandma like brushing my hair when I was like 4 or 5. She was telling me in Vietnamese, like, why I don't like brush my hair, and like, why don't I take care of my hair? Because like it was a social expectation for girls to do that in my culture. And so like I didn't do that. I was going between like back and forth with my grandmother. And eventually I was just like, I don't think I want to take care of my hair because I am a boy. I'm a boy. I don't want to take care of my hair. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do like feminine things. And it was like one of those things where she was just like laughing it off because like it was, I don't know what she would do with that information. I'm like 4, I I don't think she knew like how to deal with that. And so like she kind of just laughed it off, and I kind of internalized that for a really long time. And it always stuck in the back of my head, but I didn't have the vocabulary for it. So it just stayed in the confines of the back of my mind for, I would say, like decades until, or at least just one decade, yeah. 12, 13, I got a huge crush on this like Vocaloid synthesizer. And then 14, 15, I kind of realized like I might be trans, or at least just like gender non-conforming in that way. I was kind of just like dipping my toes into the water, not fully committing to like being like a trans guy yet. It wasn't until I met my my ex-partner. We're no longer together. We met and they bought me my first binder. I think I was around like 17, 18. And I think that was the moment in my life where I was just like, oh, this feels right. This feels good. I felt very gender euphoric, and I started looking up resources. I started looking at like possibilities on how to like take hormonal replacement therapy. It was really hard since I was like 17, and like I was just like the lack of resources that come to minors without like parental consent and stuff. That's like a huge like a medical and legal loophole that I have to cross through. And so like it was a lot easier once I turned 18. I started like going on hormonal replacement therapy. My parents had no idea. They just thought I was getting sick for like a really long time. And they were just like, what's wrong with your voice? And I was just like, I don't know. I think I just have like flu or something.
Nice.
Yeah, I got away with it for way too long. It wasn't until I moved away to Oregon to pursue an education in marine biology. That's long since dead. I'm not into that anymore. I lived in Oregon for some time, transitioned during the entirety of my time there. And then I came back and I came out to my parents, and they were okay with it at first. I think they were just confused. But I think since that point, I kind of just like started socially transitioning as just like a binary trans guy. And it wasn't until, I think it wasn't actually until that partner and I broke up where I was kind of released from the shackles of being like ultra masculine, because I think the dynamics of our relationship at that time, I was the very masculine butch one, and they were like the very effeminate one. And I felt kind of, ironically, even in queer relationship, I felt almost trapped in like my gender expression. And so it wasn't until we broke up that I started identifying more as like non-binary and like exploring my feminine side a little bit more, and just like, I don't know, just exploring the world of androgyny.
I'm gonna go back for a second, because you said that when you were about 4 years old, your grandmother told you. Your grandmother told you in Vietnamese. Do you remember in Vietnamese what she said?
She said, tại sao con không chải tóc của con, which means like, why don't you take care of your hair? Like, why don't you, my child, take care of your hair? And I just told her that I'm con phải con gái, con là con trai, which means I'm not a girl. I think I'm a boy. And she just like, she's just like, laughing it off, because I don't think she knew what to do with that information. I think culturally it was just like she had a lot more on her plate than to worry about, because she's a Vietnamese immigrant. My entire family came here post-war, and so like it was not only a diaspora of social migration, but it was also just like a lot of hardships from the American front, and just like how they were treated. And I think having on top of that like a queer child was just something that she just not only just couldn't handle, but I think she just she didn't quite understand. Not that she couldn't, because nowadays we have a lot better relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your grandmother still with us?
Yeah. She's actually getting surgery on her knee in a couple weeks. So pray for my grandma. Pray for my grandma.
Yes,
Yeah.
pray for grandma. So now, looking at you now with your trans identity, like, did your I'm sure now she understands, right? Is there something or anything that she said to you since then to kind of like close that loop of what she didn't understand when you were 4?
I think it was just time and information and just like education. I think given that she got more tech savvy the longer she lived in America, she got more information and she started exploring like what kind of information like is to be offered, and not just like through American media where it's like very deeply like very skewed in information, but I think she also seeks out like worldwide media, what the world thinks about this issue, or like things like that nature. And like it's funny because like in like Southeast Asia, especially like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, they're very welcoming of trans identities. And so like I think that as like social change started taking roots in other countries and other cultures, I think she started to see that, you know, this isn't like a big old deal or anything. It's just how their grandbaby identified, I guess. And so like she kind of made fun of me this one time, but she called me a ngựa trai, which means like a horse boy. It's a Vietnamese slang. It's older slang, but it means like someone who's very weird, someone who's very strange. But it was very gender affirming because she called me a boy.
How do you say it again?
It's like ngựa trai. Yeah.
Okay. And so to you, it was affirming, though.
It was deeply affirming because, like, even though I was called like, you know, an oddball, she still called me like an odd boy, and so like it was one of those things that I was just like, it deeply stuck with me.
You know, I want to say that a lot of times people say, "Oh, older people not going," right?
Yeah.
Or like they don't understand, but your grandmother had the ability to educate herself.
Mm-hmm.
And to learn about what her grandchild was going through. So it is possible.
Yeah, I think it ultimately has to do with like love versus ignorance. I think in terms of like general American consensus of trans identities, I don't think a lot of like Anglo-Saxon Americans, they don't really have like this. It's like, sorry to bring racism, but it's true statistically. Yeah. Like, come on, right. A lot of these like mega Christian like Anglo-Saxon families, they are so indoctrinated in their ideas that they would rather stay complicit in those ideas, and they would rather stay in that ignorance rather than admit that they've been wrong. They've been taught wrong this entire time, and actually put in the effort to re-educate themselves and just take care of their children in the way that they need to be showed up for. And I think you know, it's hard to admit that you're wrong in a lot of these situations. Like, it's hard to apologize for hurt that you've done, and like, I think that amount of weight, pressure, and the amount of work that you have to do is so what's the word? It's so all encompassing and it's so overwhelming that a lot of these people don't want to put in the work to like re-educate and, you know, become more empathetic and become more aware of like their child's identity and becoming more I guess just more progressive in that sense. Like, I'm not gonna say like my grandma's ultra progressive, but she is definitely a lot more like worldly and like intellectually in tune with the world rather than like before, when rather than just like consuming only American media.
I love that. Love over ignorance.
Yeah. Yeah. She chose to keep her relationship with me and like turn around her views and just like re-educate herself, becoming more aware of what other countries, other societies become like, they become more welcoming and stuff. And, you don't want to be falling behind. And so like, you don't want to be like one of those old coots that just like, just like, just spouting nonsense about like ignorance and things like that. She doesn't want to be that.
Yeah.
I know she takes education very closely to heart.
And just to think, Christian talked about, you mentioned it, not wanting to admit that they're wrong.
Yeah.
But the thing that I believe is like the just religion in general, it's an outline.
Yeah.
It's not an end all be all.
Yeah.
We have the ability to have our freedom of thought. We have our ability to think outside of the box and outside of the book, really, right? Of what we feel that life should be. Now, of course, I believe in some of those rules that don't kill people, not stealing and stuff like that, right? Those are important. But like outside of those things, like loving your child, if you bring in a child into this world, your job is to nurture them as a child, not to nurture them to be who you want them to be. And so whomever they become, then that's when the love part comes in, where you nurture them and love them wherever they
are. Yeah, you have to show up in places that require love and not so much like just like what society expects of you. Because if we all raised our children the way the churches want us to raise our kids, we'd all be fucked. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss.
Yeah, you can. But that's funny to say that church and then being fucked. I think that's funny.
Yeah, it's a very nuanced issue, especially religion. I know some queers find religion to be very comforting. Community is very important and stuff. Yes. Finding faith in like a sort of semblance of peace in the afterlife. I feel like that's very comforting. That's normal for societies to find people to like gather and kind of worship in some way. With that being said, like, the main factions of America, like we have like very, very prominent Christian, we have very prominent like Christian nationalists that really like they really want to exemplify their ideas through like violence and like and just like through ignorance and hate. And I think because their voices are so loud, they garner a lot of audience members, and that just leads to like a whole lot of issues because young people can be impressionable. They don't know anything about trans identities. And so they just see this person who they admire through like a parasocial relationship that, all trans people are like monsters or whatever. And they just internalize that instead of like actually meeting real in-person trans people and like getting to know them. Yeah.
I'm not a monster. Monster?
No.
Yeah. 2026 marks 10 years of Dem Bois Inc. That's 10 years of community care, 10 years of leadership rooted in love, and 10 years of turning visibility into possibility. And so to honor this milestone, we've launched our 10 for 10 campaign. You're like, Sean, 10 for 10, what's that? So we are inviting you, our listeners, our supporters, our allies, and other folks in the community to give $10 a month to help sustain the care, leadership, and visibility that trans men of color deserve. And so 10 years is a very long time, right? That's a decade. Can you imagine raising a child from birth and then looking at them at their 10th birthday party and being like, wow, you've watched so much of their growth within that 10 years, right? That's the same for us. And so Dem Bois Inc., over the 10 years, we have done a lot. And so we have provided gender affirming surgery grants to trans men of color to obtain gender affirming surgeries. We started this podcast. We are now in season 4 of the podcast in 2026. We created our Visibility Equals Possibility merch. We partnered with Emilio and Zion, both trans men of color, to design what visibility equals possibility means to them. And it's reflected in our merch. We also partnered with the Black trans man, Mola Flow, to create our theme song. And that's the music that you hear every time you tune into Dem Bois Podcast. We've done merch. We've done partnering. We have delivered care packages to trans men of color in need of personal hygiene items within our community. We have done a lot in 10 years. And so imagine what the next 10 years would look like. Donating $10 a month says, I believe in this work. I believe in the future of trans men of color, and I believe in what comes next. And so if this call resonates with you, join us today. And we've even made it easy. You don't even got to go anywhere. Whatever platform you're listening to this episode, go ahead and open up the show notes. And from there, you will be able to click the link to start your contribution to our 10 for 10 campaign. Your monthly support helps ensure Dem Bois can continue showing up for our community with intention, care, and impact. So thank you for listening and thank you for believing in our mission. Okay, and I'm going to get out of here so you can listen to this episode. Take care. So when I introduce you, you are a retired runway model.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, back when I was like 200 pounds lighter.
Hey, it don't matter. Model is a model. So do you want to tell us more about your modeling career and why is that still not your career?
It was something I dabbled in for some time. It was something that I hold very, very fond memories of. It's not something I actively pursue nowadays. I think I want to take my education a little bit more seriously and pursue like being more a prominent member in the community. But that being said, like I loved my time being a model. I absolutely adored it. It got me a lot of opportunities to like go into like the industry and like media work and all that stuff. And I want to give a shout out to my dad, Austin. He is the creator of Trans Guy Supply. He was the one that scouted me. I went to walk for New York Fashion Week 2022 because of him, and he like honestly changed my life. And so like I want to give a huge shout out to him. We just like modeled a bunch of like queer, trans guy specific, but also like gender non-conforming like sportswear and swimwear and just like outfits that he made and things like that. And like it was such an experience. It like the whole house was packed. It was all over in the news. It was like written in like articles and things like that. It like I think getting a taste of fame kind of like it was I don't want to say it changed me, but I think it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening for sure, because when you get a lot of media attention, you get a lot of open opportunities. I think from then on, I worked on a couple movies. I worked in that one queer movie Mutt with the director Vuk, and he was a really great like director, and he had a lot of he had a lot of vision. Yeah. He had a lot of vision to tell and curate queer narratives and stories. Yeah. And I managed to meet a bunch of other queer networking through that. I managed to do a couple other runways in LA and stuff, but I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of like the LA runway scene.
I'm not a huge fan of LA in general.
Yeah, honestly. Like no hate to all my trans friends in LA, but like it's disgusting down there.
Yeah. No hate to folks who do love LA, because I do know some people that live there. Yeah. Even previous guests on the show that live there. Mm-hmm. But I don't like it.
Yeah, my friend Kane, he moved from Oakland to LA, and I'm just like, bro, why'd you do that? Yeah. Why'd you do that? I mean, he's doing really good for himself. He does like photography for like Alaska Airlines now. And so like I love being able to like support him and see his work on like, you know, airports and stuff. Yeah.
So with the modeling career though, what shifted? What dried up with that career with that?
It's a little it was a little bit of two things. One, I kind of just got I got a little bored with it. Like, not to say like, you know, going out and like meeting people and like doing these amazing events is boring, but I think as my personality becomes more subdued, I think I enjoy having like quiet nights in and just like not having to like mingle and like network afterwards, because like a lot of the expectations about these shows is that you're supposed to go out for drinking afterwards, and like you meet people, you create networks, and like you start working together and all that stuff. And I think I just couldn't keep up with that lifestyle. I think it was just like it became overwhelming really quickly.
So yeah. What, you know, because it's the person who you did the shows for, they catered around trans and non-binary. right?
Oh yeah. They still do photo shoots and like runways to this day, like in New York and stuff, through like trans masculine models and such.
So outside of that, what was the landscape like in modeling for other trans folk?
So some of these runways that I attended, they didn't know that I was like a trans identifying model. I mean, they probably had like maybe suspicions because like I'm like a 5'5" like male in the modeling world. It's probably because I'm different, but I think modeling within the queer space is so much more fun than modeling within cis spaces, which is what LA usually caters to. And like the other thing that kind of made me like kind of fall out of love with it is just the negative attention I was getting around like gaining weight and stuff. Like I started losing like modeling gig opportunities because I couldn't I couldn't fit the clothes anymore. And like I was just like I was battling like a series long depressive episodes. And during those periods I just gained a lot of weight. And I found that some of my opportunities just kind of like eventually dried up, or they just were just like they found someone who was like skinnier or like younger, things like that. Like it's a very vapid, like surface level kind of profession. Not to say like it's the worst thing in the world to do. It's fun. It's fun to do, but I don't think it's sustainable long term. I don't want to be someone who's like rail thin and like not eating and doing like drugs day in and day out and drinking afterwards and like expected to keep up with this image and like expected to mingle with other people, especially if they're like, God forbid, someone who's like not actually like, looking out for a community and just doing it for money or whatever. And so like, I don't know, it's a lot of things, I suppose.
When I'm hearing you speak about it, I'm thinking about a movie I watched. I don't know if you saw it. Have you ever watched Gia with Angelina Jolie?
I can't say that I have, but
okay. She was like a supermodel, and then I can't remember what happened towards the end. I don't want to spoil it for folks who look at it, but it was a lot of that, like that cycle of like mental health and drugs and just not taking care of herself until the end, whatever happened to her at the end. And I think it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
But it's like this being in this toxic kind of environment where you pretty much just you moving around just for other people.
Exactly. It's not your job to be a person. It's your job to be a mannequin. And
be an object.
Be an object. Exactly. And so like, unless you're like someone like for example, like Tyra Banks or someone who's like a very, very prominent model, you're more likely to be just another workhorse in the industry, which is not this. It's not bad. Some workhorses are paid a lot better than others. Some workhorses, they make enough money to, make a comfortable living for themselves. But I want to say like a lot of small time like models that are up and coming, they have to fight through a lot in order to get recognized. And so like, most of the time you're not really paid, you're not really like given like fair like working opportunities. It's a really toxic environment, like mental health and all that stuff. Like the expectation to stay a certain size or else you're not in the show. It's a lot of like demeaning behavior because they don't really treat you like a person. They don't really treat you like that. They treat you like a mannequin because you are there to model after clothes and stuff. And I'm not saying like all of them are like this. My time in New York was very, very lovely. I will just say like the queer scene is more accepting though. Yeah, because like there was a period like 2023, 24 where I did go back to New York to do another runway, and they're definitely a lot more accepting over there than over here. I would like from a generous sample size of all the shows I've done, like I feel like New York tends to be very welcoming of other like diverse body types and like skin color and like all that other stuff. Because like LA's nice, but it's still very like catered towards like rail thin light skin models, and it's like there's a lot of growing to do down there. There needs to be a lot more stuff to like question and change basically.
And you just mentioned mental health. And prior to us recording, we were talking about mental health and the nuance with mental health. And so I want to ask you, like, going through all of this, the modeling and all of that, how did that play an effect on your mental?
I think at the very beginning, it was like very, very fun. It was exciting and new, and like it was something that had no idea what I was getting myself into. I think as time went on, it started deteriorating my mental health. I started like doing stuff that I shouldn't to like keep my weight down. And it's just like, like this is like I didn't even scratch the surface of what other models do. Like they take like hardcore drugs in order to like keep a thin figure. I didn't even scratch the surface of what to do, but I felt it was just too much for me, and so like I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be like a normal, healthy person, I suppose. I didn't want to like be at the constant social beck and call of someone else. Yeah.
Since stepping away from modeling, what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm mostly focusing on school. I want to become a doctor. I'm taking some time away from like the entertainment world to kind of focus on my studies a little bit. I really want to give back to my community in whatever ways I can. I mentioned before the podcast, I mentioned that I was a behavioral therapist for autistic children, and that has really like opened my eyes to the possibilities of the world and how I can give back to my community without having to be sacrificing my mental health or like my image,
And working with autistic kids, and being a queer person, how do you see through their eyes how they see you in the world?
It's it's interesting because like I think whenever I am with my kids, I don't think they think about like whether or not I'm non-binary or not. I think they just see me as a person. I don't think they have like conceptually this idea of like the binary and like gender and like all this other stuff because they're so young. And so like they of course can learn to be accepting of other identities because they're so young and like spongy and stuff. But I think in terms of like them understanding like what it's like to what it means to understand my gender identity and the nuance that it takes to get here, like I think it just takes time for them to like develop and then understand.
So do you feel like you need more patience with the children? I want to say more patience with the children because obviously, right, we're teaching them and you're learning with them, but in comparison to other people, do you feel like it takes more patience to deal with an autistic child, or does it take more patience to deal with just a regular ass adult?
Oh, that's a hard one, actually. It is a hard one because, like, I think I would much rather deal with autistic children because I can understand how their brain works a little bit better. I grew up being undiagnosed as autistic. I didn't get diagnosed until I was an adult, and so like it made a lot of sense that normal kids don't just like line up rocks or just draw Pokemon all day every day for years. Like it's. There were signs. And so I think dealing with, not dealing, but like teaching and having the opportunity to like play with these autistic kids, I think it's a lot easier to like convey information to them because with some adults, they are more headstrong. They can be more stubborn. Sometimes they don't want to learn. And so like with children, I feel like it's a lot easier to teach them things. And I would even argue that I need infinitely more patience to deal with like ignorant adults.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't remember what episode in the past it was or with the guest, but when I think about it, I'll make sure to plug it into the show notes. But one thing that they said in their journey was that they realized that more autistic people were queer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, peer review studies, like case studies and all that stuff. It's been shown that autistic brains have more likelihood to be trans identifying, not because they are autistic, but because autistic brains tend to think outside of conformity. And so they don't like autistic brains. They don't operate on the same level as like quote unquote like a normal brain. We refer to that as allistic. Like non autistic brains are just allistic brains. So allistic brains, they tend to store synapses at a function level. But some autistic brains, not all of them, but a lot of them, because they are like retaining a lot more information in synapses, they are more likely to create connections that are outside of like typical thinking. And one thing leads to another, and it starts making you think about like what it means to be a part of a social construct, what it means to be a part of the social binary, the gender binary even. And I feel like more autistic brains are more likely to question that. And it's just a factor of like, maybe it's a little bit biology, maybe it's like social factors. But I think that, I think it's a combination of both. There's a lot of studies regarding it, and some like, some, I want to say like right-wing activists, conservative Christian moms, they take that information and they're just like, oh no, my autistic kid's going to be trans. And it's like, well, no, it's not always 100%, but it's just like they're more likely to be trans because they're more likely to think about things in an outside perspective. And so when you think about your stuff, like when you think about gender and stuff, like most people have this idea of like binary teaching, but when your brain is not built for that kind of information computing, it makes you more likely to question what's outside it. And so, like, I think, like, that's a totally fair assumption. I feel like there's a lot of case studies and peer-reviewed case studies that kind of corroborate with the fact that autistic people tend to be on the trans-identifying side, and that's not negative or anything, but I think it's fascinating.
And also, just think. Right-wing people also said if you go through the body scanner at the airport, you're going to turn out gay. I mean, so, there are, I feel like that's that unlearning. It's like there's different ways to be. We're not all meant to be the same.
Yeah.
I'm not meant to be like you. You're not meant to be like me. And I'm not meant to be like the right-wing mom or whoever, right, that has this idea of living. And I want to ask you, because like, you said the allistic brain versus the autistic brain. And so what is your advice to kind of like help folks with allistic brains get it together and understand me and you or anybody else with a trans identity, non-binary identity? Like what is it that needs to click in people's heads to kind of make that connection?
I think ultimately it has to boil down to education and intellectualism. I think if you educate yourself and become more worldly and become more like in tune with yourself, not just like logically, but also emotionally, I think you do become more like susceptible and like not susceptible, but more accepting of other ideologies and like lifestyles and things of that nature. Because like, not to say that we're like choosing this lifestyle or anything, but it does make it, from their perspective, they think of it as a lifestyle. And so if you can like educate them, if you can give them like nuance and empathy and give them like the right resources to like challenge their notions, I think it can, rewrite synapses in their brain and write new ones and tell them that, trans people aren't bad. Trans people are actually really cool. Trans people are like, like my baristas. They're like my coworkers. They're my doctors. Like there's more of us out there than people come to think and expect.
And I feel like more people, if people could learn and understand it, I think there would be less people that were stealth.
Yeah, I think if people were more welcoming to the idea of like transness as a whole, I don't think this idea of having to hide your identity would be such a prominent like tactic amongst like our trans community members.
And also it's a survival mechanism.
Oh yeah. Like it's not necessarily like it would be morally just to come out at work and like be true to yourself. But in context, right? If you're like, you grow up in the South or something like that, you don't want to come out at work. You'll lose your job. And you got to be smart about it. And so like, but why do we have to have that choice to begin with? Why can't we come out and have our job? Why can't we have both? But I think, I don't think we're there as like a society yet. I think a lot of us in like, more left-leaning like cities and states and things like that, we have more of an idea of like how to approach these nuanced topics. But in terms of like lack of education with like gender studies, like critical race theory, all this stuff, I think all these ideas are very scary to people who are in the unknown. And so like a lot of these rural spots, a lot of rural schools, have like this rigorous like gender study course or anything like that. And so like it's hard to gain funding for that because those kids grow up and they become like lawmakers and policymakers.
Yes.
And then they don't understand and they get scared that their kids are learning about this stuff and they don't want to fund that shit. So it's this endless cycle of just like ignorance until someone comes in and breaks it. And I think like it's the burden of the educator in order to break that cycle.
What's crazy to me is people who are so willing to get to know the new device.
Mm-hmm.
You got a new phone. I don't know what phone, an iPhone, whatever number we on by now. 23.
Oh, yeah.
Much different than, are we on 23?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're on I think we're not even joking. I think we're like 18 or 19 now.
Oh, Jesus.
We're almost to the 20s.
Jesus. So, but when you had the 6,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's different than the 20, the 18.
Oh, yeah.
And you so easy to be like, oh, I got a new phone and let me figure out how to use it. Or if you go from an Android to an Apple or Apple to Android, you got to relearn some shit. You can do that.
Yeah.
But you can't learn about people that's in your community. That makes no sense to me. And what the fuck does my job have to do with my trans identity? Did I clock in? Did I file the papers correctly? Did I keep the client? Did I bring the client? Did I bring money into the office or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Did I refill the water on the water cooler when I took the last of the water, right? Did I clean out the microwave and my lunch spilled in the microwave? Like, what the fuck does my trans identity have to do with my work function? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's such it is an infinitely frustrating topic. We talk about like transness, especially to people who like are not willing to understand the topic of just multi-intellectual like teachings when it comes to like gender, because it's like it's not just like a biological proof that we all have different chromosomes, and it's not just XY and XX. There's like social teachings, there's religiosity like transness. There's people in like Hawaii that like identify like religiosity and like culturally as like trans, and they're like deeply regarded in their community as like all knowing. And like I think the way that the general American public kind of responds to transness is like a result of like white supremacy. Yeah.
That sums it up. That's about it. Okay,
yeah.
we're done now. I was thinking that because it's fear.
It is.
People want to keep things the exact same way that they were. White.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
it. White. They don't want nothing else different. And what people are realizing, because you said earlier about a right wing woman.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacy ain't about your ass either.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about that. It ain't about your ass. It's about keeping your ass down too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if, I don't know, the white man, if his name was Chuck, reality, Chuck wants you to stay home and raise his children while he go do whatever the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to uphold some shit that's meant to keep you down as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah, a lot of these root issues date back to how Anglo-colonialism like took over a lot of cultures, erased a lot of cultures, and how they celebrate transness and queer identities. And like, of course, like back then they didn't have the vocabulary for it. And since the arrival of like Anglo colonizers, now they don't have the opportunity because they're gone now. And so whenever people are arguing about like, oh, there's no trans people in history, like, well, yeah, because they all got killed,
right?
Because it was like in the pursuit of white supremacy and like and just like Anglo-Christian Catholicism, Protestant like teachings, where it's just very binary views of gender, Adam and Eve. But they don't talk about other cultures with other deities who are not gender, like not binary gender. Like in like, this is just for example, like one of the like main religions in India, they have like gender non-conforming and like trans like goddesses, and like they're like the mothers of the universe and things like that. So their approach culturally to transness is not rooted in so much as white supremacy. I feel like they have more of a cultural understanding and like an empathetic view on it that is untouched by white supremacy. I mean, the British did try to take over India, but that never happened. They couldn't do it because India gained independence, and they just embraced their culture since then. And like same with Vietnam, like we used to have indigenous identities that do cater to like being in like quote unquote in the middle gender wise, and so like, but we don't have a lot of language and like text regarding that anymore because of French colonization. And so like you could even argue like it's not just like the British, but it's also like the French, the Spanish, like all the Europeans that like conquered and like took away so much information from the world, from these cultures that do understand us.
And the Portuguese.
Yeah, and the Portuguese, dude. Don't forget about them.
Yeah,
they fucked up Brazil real bad.
Right.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
I think it's our job, especially here on this show. This is why we have these conversations. So, we have trans-identified folks that may be listening, but we also may have some that are not, right? And it's about bringing awareness. It's about bringing our stories so people can get an understanding of what we're thinking in our thought process in our lives, right? And it's so much more freeing to just be who the fuck you are.
Oh, yeah.
Than to not be.
Yeah. It is. It eats away at you the longer you try to hide from yourself. Like something lighthearted aside, there's I guess it's kind of lighthearted. It's a little sad, I guess, too. But sometimes when you go on Grindr and you like look at like all like the straight DL guys, like they're like very curious about being gay, but and exploring their their queerness in a way where it's not shameful, but because they grew up in like a very cis heteronormative society and lifestyle, they basically box themselves into being like, well, I'm not actually gay. Like I just have a Grindr account for some reason. And it's like, okay. And those I know what you are.
Those are people with no profile pictures.
Yeah. And like the DL guys, they're hurting. They're hurting real bad. Yeah, they come by and they just want to like have so much pent up like sexual frustrations from not actually being able to be their true selves that they'll just like, oh, I mean, like if you like a hard fuck, like definitely go for it. But like, I don't know, it feels dangerous to me sometimes because of how pent up these straight men on Grindr can be. Yeah,
and weird. Yeah, too, at the same time.
Oh, it's very, very weird because they have more likely than not a strange request or two because they just don't have the opportunity to explore in their day-to-day lives.
Right.
Not with like their normal, like not their cis heteronormative partners who probably have this expectation of them to like be masculine and like stoic or whatever. They don't get the opportunity to be like, hey, can you like play with my butt or whatever.
Yeah. Or even something not even that extreme. Even something like, oh, I want to be a little spoon. I want somebody to hold me.
Yeah, I want someone to hold me. They can't even say that. Yeah. It's so, and so like these men, they just go onto the Grindr and they have so much frustration. And it's like, I think I would much rather want to be their therapist than their plaything. They have very fascinating worldviews because they justify it to themselves. Like if I just push this away long enough and they just, explore it in secret, then everything will be okay. But it's not okay. Like you should just be honest with yourself. But we don't live in a society that is accepting of that because then they have to they have to come out to their friends, their family. They can face rejection. They can lose their job. They can lose their family. They can lose their housing and shit. So like, I get it. Like sometimes it's hard to come out. But at the same time, like I think it's infinitely better than like, being untrue to yourself.
It's liberating.
It's liberating. Yeah. It's internally a emotional, mental, and just it's just a conquest inside your brain to like overcome and come to realization that you are probably not what you say you are. You can question your identity. You can like just question what you desire, what you want out of life, because like, you know, life is a lot more customizable than we think. You know,
Yes.
it's a lot more customizable than we think. We we expect things to stay linear and the same all the time, but I can move to New York like next month and I can just start over, come out with a new personality. Like nothing's changing you. Like you can do whatever you want, really. Like this life's crazy, you know, it's full of possibilities. You might as well just do something with it rather than just, I don't know, just live in a small town and live with your wife and you get your grinder on and you just go out every weekend and just in secret and just like, you don't have to do all that. You can just live openly.
But if you think about it, if that was the case, Grindr wouldn't exist. It would need to exist.
Yeah. And so, it's so crazy. I see all those like blackouts and like the outages at like Republican events and stuff. Like, who are you trying to fool? You know who you are.
Right, exactly.
A bunch of liars in here.
Right, exactly. It's just like going to the ice cream shop. You don't want no plain old vanilla ice cream. Nah, you want some chocolate s'mores. You want to put some other nuts on there, some cream on there. I mean, right? It's customizable. I love that you said that. Life is customizable. And make it how you want it to be.
You don't have, exactly. You don't gotta live your life as like a cis heteronormative vanilla flavor. You can just do whatever you want. Go for pistachio. Who cares? Who gives a fuck?
Yo, you talking about pistachio ice cream?
I love pistachio ice cream.
Pistachio ice cream too. Oh damn! See, that's why we queer.
If you like pistachio, you are queer.
The mic drop has been said. So I want to ask you one more question real quick before we wrap up. But you are a multilinguist. And so you even spoke a little bit of Vietnamese earlier. And so how many languages do you speak?
Comfortably, I can speak English, Vietnamese, and French. I'm in the process of learning Spanish at the moment. I feel like it is a long time coming. I should have learned Spanish a really long time ago. I learned English and Vietnamese from my, mostly Vietnamese from my grandma because she only speaks Vietnamese. I learned that from her growing up. And then as I entered the American education system, they taught me English. In high school, I was given the opportunity to explore another language. I decided French for some reason. I was living in the South and I thought, with this French credential, this French fluency credential, I can move to like Louisiana or something. Like pursue a dream in like either marine biology or like being an artist there in Louisiana. I can converse in French and stuff, and it gets around. A lot of Cajun French speakers down there, or maybe to Canada or France. Like I went to France recently, like an Italy-France trip. Like it was really fun. But that being said, I don't think I want to live in France. I think I'd much rather want to live in like Canada or something. Yeah, it's a lot cleaner, a lot nicer people. Yeah, but that being said, like I learned French in high school. I didn't keep up with it too much, but I still know enough to get around. It was enough to get around France this past couple of years. And then I only started recently learning Spanish in like the last 2 semesters of college, like my most recent semesters. And I'm aiming to do another Spanish course this summer. I really wanted to be able to like converse and connect with as many communities as I can, and because like my Spanish teacher says it the best, to learn language is to learn culture, like, and so like you find a lot of these linguists from like around the world try to study like near dead languages, like from indigenous cultures. Like Inuit people, for example, they have a dying language, and there's not a lot of Inuit people who are like repopulating and stuff, and so like the language is dying out, and so there's linguists who come around and they come and learn the language, and they learn about the culture, and they preserve that culture, and they're able to keep it alive that way. And I think as long as I'm able to learn as many languages as I can, I'm able to preserve all these cultures within myself.
Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, learning language is hard.
It's infinitely hard, but it's so satisfying.
I know. And I should be able to speak Spanish fluently. I took Spanish for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I know.
Es okay, también. También.
So,
you know, hablo español.
yeah, I only know very little, but I've tried to learn Swahili.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've tried to learn a little bit of Zulu.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just my brain is not I'm not a linguistic brain person.
It's totally okay. It's like I think my grandma definitely helped me with that growing up, because I think being able to be exposed to multiple languages growing up was able to like make my brain like spongier in that regard for linguistic endeavors. But you know, like it's ever changing. The brain is constantly growing more synapses. You ever think about learning another language today?
I do. I think about it, but I don't try. Yeah.
I mean, you can try with I don't support Duolingo. They use AI, but you can do I think Rosetta Stone does like
solid learning.
Yeah, tablet learning, like having learning on your own time and all that stuff.
Well, what I will say is that this country is limiting, because if you go to other countries, people speak multiple languages.
Oh my God. Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned this. I am so passionate about this. Like in Europe, I meet so many like European people who are multilingual, trilingual, quadlingual. It is so fascinating to me because I feel very at home there. And over here, there's more expectation to be monolinguist, especially with English, because it's such a dominating language in this country. And the attitudes that people have, especially towards being monolinguist, is so oppressive that they are actively going out to other people who are bilingual, trilingual, and telling them to learn English only. Like when was it, like you always see like videos all the time of people going like near the border and stuff like that. They're just like, "What are you doing? Speaking Spanish, speak English or whatever." And it's like, they were here first, motherfucker. They were here first. You learned Spanish, you dumbass.
You dumbass. It's like it's that like I'm better than you kind of mentality.
Yeah, there's in degrees of like what the world wants. I think a lot of Americans have this assumption that English is the language to learn, and everyone around the world will just cater to you. And I will say that some countries do conform, and they do have to like open up their language sectors to English for tourism and stuff in order to create like a worthwhile economy through tourism in America, or like through Americans specifically. But yeah, it's very multifaceted, it's very nuanced and complicated, but I think it should be a social expectation and like an intellectual expectation for kids to learn multiple languages, because it creates more like sponginess in your brain. Neuroplasticity is what it's called. Neuroplasticity prevents Alzheimer's, it prevents like Parkinson's, it prevents like just dementia, because if you have a lot of neuroplasticity, you're more likely to like remember things, learn new languages. Like your brain is like healthy as it can be. And I think if we were to have more of a intellectual and a empathetic priority on our kids in this country, we would honestly teach them multiple languages, because it sets them up for life.
Yeah. And cut the superiority complex.
Yeah, enough of English only. If anything, if you like, come on, we have to step up from just learning English only, especially us Americans. We're embarrassing ourselves on the rest of the world.
Yeah, because what happens, I don't like to say this, but as the U.S. being a superpower nation, one day you won't be.
Yeah.
So if we keep going with this little monolithic point of view, if we remain only speaking one damn language, if it's just, we just are going to evolve as something that's less than. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. And like the people who want to just stay monolinguists and like, they're just going to like fade into the past, because their grandkids are going to be like, sure, which means what in Chinese, in Mandarin Chinese. They're going to be like, you know what I mean? Because like in terms of like linguistic superpowers, English is definitely one of them. Mandarin's one of them. Like, I mean, it's just a matter of time before we all become more like culturally integrate with one another, where we start learning about each other's languages on a more intimate level.
And honestly, I believe that's how this is my own opinion. I believe that's how the world was set up.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed, it wasn't supposed to be no fucking colonization.
Mm-hmm.
We were all supposed to mingle with each other. I go visit your town and I say, oh, I like it here. Can I borrow some of these spices and I want to take this back home with me? Oh, you love this person, you want to marry them, but you want to stay here? Okay, bye. See you later, right?
Yeah.
Or you want to marry me, you want to come with me? Great,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't meant to, I'm coming to take over your shit. I'm going to take all your shit with me and claim it as my own. I come there, I learn your language, I go back home and I say, oh, I met these people over here. I met Wen over here in this town and they were doing this, this, and that, right? We were supposed to mingle with each other, say hi, goodbye, trade, and go on about our business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just really... I believe that's how the world was meant to be. There wasn't supposed to be, you can't marry this person, you can't be queer, you can't be trans, you can't be into this. We're all just supposed to intermingle. So one day somebody got it fucked up and said, no, that can't be. That can't happen. Fuck that. We taking all of your shit, right? And then that's just how this world ended up, right?
Yeah, it was literally through like socialization and capitalism and just like white supremacy all intermingled together that caused us to live in the society we live in today.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when this is a part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random ass question. I got this long list of questions that's always growing. I am now on 85 questions. I'm not going to ask you all of them.
All right, for sure.
But just pick a number between 1 and 85 and I reach that question. But I must say the question may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about today.
Oh, for sure. Okay, this is going to be fun. All right. Let's do I don't know, I'm feeling 75. Let's do 75.
75. Number 75 says, what is the best vacation you have ever taken?
Oh, that's an easy answer. I went to my cousins, like my family friends, like I call them my cousins, but I went to their like family gathering / like family reunion. That's the word, reunion. We went to a family reunion in Hawaii. Oh my gosh. If I could go back anywhere in the world, I would go back to Honolulu. I would go back to Waikiki. The water there is literally like bath water warm. It is so comforting to just lay down and feel the ocean like wash against your feet or just wade in the water. And it's so warm. It's so like, whenever I swim in specifically this famous Waikiki beach, I feel really in tune with the world and at peace with like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like I feel the water holding me, embracing me, and I feel like this is what society like is not telling you about. I think we need to get back in touch with nature and our like what's it called? We need to get back in tune with our like biological clocks and just what makes us feel good and just being more attuned to nature and just giving back to Mother Nature while we still can.
Agree. While it's still available.
Yeah, while it's still here.
And we ain't tearing shit up.
Oh yeah.
The best vacation I've ever taken is I went on a cruise maybe like 2-3 years ago now. By myself.
Oh, nice.
7-day cruise by myself.
Hell yeah.
That was the best thing I've ever done in my life. I have never been anywhere by myself before.
Whoa.
But to know, and that was the first time on a cruise also, but I can travel by yourself. You can get up whenever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to ask people where the hell you want to eat, what you want to do next. I can take naps as many times as I want. It was fucking amazing. So that was like the best. I've been to a few places, but that's like the best thing that I've ever done solo.
Yeah.
That made me feel whole. It helped me get my mental health together. And it just was a way for me to connect with the world by myself.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's the best way to do it, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, it is a wonderful thing to be able to nurture yourself, your soul, and your mind and your intellectualism, because that's all we got.
Right, exactly. Wen, I'm so glad to have you here in front of me in person. Is there any last things that you'd like to say or any last bit that you'd like to say to people listening before we get out of here?
I think before we leave, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This is a great opportunity. This has been wonderful. I love talking to you. I love getting lunch with you and like just getting to know you more and learning about our history and like our identities. I think I will want to leave the listeners with something. I think the next time people come to an opportunity to think about like their gender in a way that is not just secular and like biological, I want them to think about like the social aspects, the historical aspects. Where does gender come from? Where does this idea of gender like initiate? Where's the genesis of it? What does it mean to be transgender? What does it mean to be happy with yourself? To cis people, whenever a person in your life comes out as trans, just be there for them. In terms of if you are the person coming out as trans, like we're here for you. There's a community out there for you. It seems scary, but and it seems lonely, but I promise you there is a community out there. We are looking out for you, and for people who are in the midst of questioning their gender, like I think. If you look into like all the aspects of gender and what it means, I think if you were to have like a more nuanced and cultural understanding of gender, you would come to a realization a lot faster.